Hello, and welcome to one of the next videos in how to use CodeSpells. In this one we're going to be looking at the ancient spells, which are essentially spells that are set up by the developers. So these are spells that basically come installed in the game. You don't have to program them or build them, so they're not as fun as ones you can make yourself, but they're still pretty good. So we'll have a look at these. So the way you can first open up your kind of spell book to have a look at this is by pressing escape, and that will bring up this menu here. If you go to the library, you'll see the list of all the spells that you have available. So this also includes spells you've made yourself, so I've made some here, and spells that others have made. I think that's once multiplayer gets implemented. So to just eliminate those, I'm going to click on My Spells, so that's not showing my spells anymore. And I'm going to click on Others, but there shouldn't be any anyway. And we'll just have a look at all these different spells that basically what they say the ancients have made. So these are like default spells, I guess. A lot of them are coded in Blockly, as that was the original intent of CodeSpells in general, but we're going to see that some of them are actually in JavaScript. So the JavaScript tutorials cover how those will work. But yeah, all the other ones are in Blockly. So this will be a look at all the Blockly spells, not all of them, but a few of them, seeing what they do and how they work, and like that. Some other, let me change this here. Some other information we have over here. These are spell wheels. This is pretty interesting. You can actually make your own spell wheel to pick different spells off of, basically. I'll get more into that later and how we can use that to our advantage, make things more easy. So first, we're going to use this Blockly spell called Lift Object. It's an ancient spell. It takes 20 earth mana to cast. And this was the last time, I guess, they updated the list of ancient spells. So if we just click Equip here, now in the top left corner of my screen, you can see that we've got Lift Object equipped. What does this do? Well, oh, there's a big rock falling there. We'll just let that roll by. If we cast this on a boulder, you can basically move around stones, just kind of spin them around like this, right? It's formed an elastic connection to the rock, so we can just drag them around and do whatever. Pretty cool. There's no way of really like turning it off, except for waiting for the spell to run out of mana, and that could be a while. So, yep, so it just turned off. Good for throwing things around, maybe not for building. So what I've just done is press Tab, and this has actually brought up a spell wheel. So there's a few different spell wheels that are set up at the start. There's an earth wheel, a water wheel, and a fire wheel. And then I made my own wheel over there. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. The earth wheel then is going to have different earth spells in it to start with. So there's some push spells and pull spells and things like that. Water wheel is mostly about manipulating water, and then the fire wheel is mostly just going to be about heat. So we just used Lift Rock, and you'll see that's not actually on this spell wheel. So the spells on the wheel aren't necessarily all of the spells. That's just a small selection that have been put on there. So to manipulate a spell wheel, you'll press Escape. You'll see this thing again, and essentially you can click on whichever wheel you want to manipulate. So let's go to this Earth wheel. And let's change this one called Explosion to Lift Object. So since I have Lift Object selected, I just close the X on that. So now there's no spell in this wheel slot. And when I click again, it puts the spell I have selected over here into that slot. So now I've got Lift Object in there. So I press Escape to close that, press Tab, and there's our Lift Object that we just used. Cool. Alright, but what is this spell doing? Like, it seems to shoot out and connect, but what'll happen if we shoot it at something that it can't connect to? Will it connect to the earth? Like, why doesn't it connect onto this other rock when I hit the orb onto it? It's kind of weird, hey? So look, it doesn't connect to the earth. We're not dragging the stone around. So I opened up my spell wheel, shift and click to edit a spell. So Lift Object, shift and click. So let's have a look at what this one's doing here. First thing to notice when looking at an ancient spell is that they're not actually editable. These spells can't be changed. They're just in the game, and if you want to edit them, basically you have to make a copy using this and edit them like that. So let's see what this spell does. When the spell orb is created, it's going to be going fast, and it's going to set some variable named attached object to null. So this is a component that sets a thing to null, so I don't know, whatever that is then. So if, essentially what we're looking at is if you're not attached to an object, so check if the object that you're hit is movable, and then if you have hit it, make the last object you hit movable, and then make a connection to it, and then look at the player. I don't know why that's in there. We'll go more into detail on this in one of the later tutorials, but the idea is to just have a look at some of these ancient spells and what they can do. So, lift an object. What else have we got? We've got explosion. Let's have a look at what this one does. Looks like we'll create an orb, it'll shoot out, and then when it hits something, we'll just kind of spin around randomly and shoot out 8 other orbs of push, and then it'll just destroy itself. So let's see what that does. So I'm just going to shoot at this tree, and you can see there was kind of like an explosion of orbs that came off. That's why it has its name. It might be going almost too fast to see, but this should push the rocks because they're push spells. All those different push spells should fling these rocks everywhere. Oh. Wow, that was pretty substantial. Let's have a look at some of these other ones then. We've got pull player. Let's see what this does. So that's actually made a connection to myself, and it's kind of got me attached to it. So this spell can actually be used for flight. As you can see, I'm kind of flying right now, so that's good. It's kind of jerky though, because basically my player's trying to follow all these different orbs, and I'm probably gonna kill myself in this rock. Oh, wow, good timing. What else have we got then? We've got teleport. That should be pretty self-explanatory. This is actually going to take a lot of mana though, and the mana used by a spell can be seen in the bottom right corner of the screen. So we've got our yellow bar for earth mana, our blue bar for water mana, our red bar for fire mana, and our purple bar for air mana. And then the green bar is how much health you have. So the white lines on each bar represent how much mana it's going to cost to cast the spell you have equipped. So that much of my earth bar will disappear when I cast this spell. See? And then once it hits something, it'll move the player, which is myself, to that location. So, pow, I'm over here now. Wham, I'm over here inside a rock. So, pretty good. It does use quite a bit of mana though, because it's pretty powerful just to be able to teleport anywhere. And it's essentially got no distance limit except for how far the orb can go before it just disappears. So I just teleported from way over there. Pretty powerful spells and their spells. You got push and pull. These are for manipulating objects that can move. Like, I thought I just saw one. Oh no, that's a little home for a thing. Oh, let's do this. So you can see that rock's moving around. I put a push spell on it. This pull spell is going to pull a rock towards me, which is probably going to wind up badly. Oh dear. So, narrowly avoided death there. Let's have a look under the water spells now. We've got an add water spell. So, casting this should generate some water. Pretty good. So it's quite a bit of water it's made. And they've got a great flow system built into the game. How water flows and how it moves, that's great. You can see basically like the water's flowing around. Maybe this will make a little pond here. I don't know. Yep. So that's pretty good. We've kind of flooded this area, but hopefully these creatures don't mind. I think he's going to have a drink of this water. Oh, nope, he's going back to his house. We've got add water on hit. So make some water somewhere else, far away. We've got part water. So that's pretty cool. This doesn't, it doesn't have a, oh god, I'm flowing with the water now. That part water doesn't have an effect of on hit, it's just for walking through. So maybe we could make something like that later. We'll have a look at modifying that spell in a moment. We got set humidity, so these are different like environment humidity levels. Basically you can dry everything out with a low humidity spell, or that actually takes a lot of mana to cast, or increase the humidity. So I'll increase the humidity over here. And you can see that kind of just changes like the effect of the environment. So maybe it's more like swampy effect they're trying to get over here. And back over here. It looks like it's changed back now. Maybe they're trying to get like a sort of desert arid effect. And then we've got stop water. So that just stops water. It's an on-hit thing. So that's like I'm standing in this area now and there's no water. That looks pretty cool. Gosh, it gets... The lighting in this game is a bit weird. Like, it's difficult to tell what's going on sometimes. Wow. I'm going to use one of my spells to make some light around here for a moment. Alright. And then the fire spells, we have heat and explode. So basically add heat. If you add too much heat in an area, you see I'm dying. And when you die, you just respawn back somewhere. So that's what happened just now. So don't add too much heat. And if you remove enough heat, it should get pretty cold is the idea. But I don't know how much of that we've implemented yet. Like how much of an effect that'll have. It looks like actually by making it cold, if the humidity's high... What the heck? Oh dear. So it appears in alpha game we're having some issues right here. So if you ever find yourself just dying from fire damage incredibly like I am, try and make a bunch of water near yourself, and that'll protect you from the fire until you can hopefully flow to somewhere else where you're not going to just die from fire. And now you're probably also going to be underwater, so you can use one of these part water spells. There. So I've got myself a little hole here now. We're going to go switch back to an earth spell. I'm going to use Raise Rock. Basically trying to make an island here for me to stand on. What the heck? As I said, lighting in this game, currently a bit weird. Let's see if we can teleport somewhere else. So, as you can see, like these ancient spells are really good for just sort of surviving in the landscape, moving around, maybe playing with things a bit. You can fly, kind of, right? So we can fly around. Not very well, but you can sort of fly. You can move some rocks. Cool stuff like that. Yeah, so these are some of the ancient spells. This is how to kind of survive in landscape when things get a bit weird. And we'll have a look into some more of like, what are these floating rocks, and what are some of these creatures, and how do you have water everywhere, and what are things like that. I'm gonna look at that in a later video. So thanks for watching, and check out our other videos if you want to learn more about code spells.